We're live. Halloween 2024.
Ooh.
You've got the boys here representing NX.
Boys are back in town. The boys are back in town.
Hey,
Yes.
careful on the copyright strikes there,
Oh,
buddy.
yeah.
know.
Well, I mean, I don't
Mike.
sing that well. So I can't really. I don't think you'd be able to get the copyright police on that.
No, that was like a live recording of whoever sang that song.
I don't
It
know
was
who sings that
a
song.
parody of whoever sang that song.
Oh, good.
It's NX is back in town. There we go.
Excellent use of
Ooh.
parody law, Mike.
I know my
Use
fair
this
use
again.
law. I'm no
Done it
lawyer, but I
again,
know
Mike.
that.
Nice. Well, so I learned something today. Oh, Teen's here. Hey, Teen. We're hanging out.
Hello.
It's Halloween. We're going to be reviewing a bunch of stuff from Monorepo World, not NXConf, but Monorepo World. Don't you say it. But yeah, it was great. I spent a lot of time working during the conference, so I'm looking forward to hearing from Mike and Phillip some of the cool stuff they experienced there. Before we get to it, though, I learned something really, really interesting from Mike. Mike, can I share your screen again?
Go for it.
This was shocking to me. Can you explain, Mike?
Yeah. All right. So any of the Halloween movies, like Michael Myers, slasher from like the 70s and 80s, the mask that they used was literally just a mask of William Shatner, and they spray painted it to like cover up the eyes, eyebrows. I think they actually cut out the eyes to be a little bit, weirder and darker. And that's been the mask for however long Michael Myers as a character has existed, which is kind of funny because you see like some masks in like the early movies are like that, and then masks in later movies are completely different and they look kind of garbage quality compared to what they were in the original ones. So Michael Myers masks, William Shatner. William Shatner is terrifying.
See, that's
no
just
offense
cool.
to the actor. William Shatner's mask is terrifying. I want to make
That's
sure.
fair.
William Shatner, I hear, is a lovely person.
Well, I haven't heard that, but he is a national treasure. So
Star Trek. I mean, come on.
I wonder if he gets royalties for that now. Like, I don't know.
for his likeness in a mask.
I feel like there's a case to be made, right?
Okay.
Maybe, but I feel like that's also, it was a point in time where likeness and royalties like that weren't really a thing. So maybe it's gotten like grandfathered into not requiring loyalties, but I'm sure he would. It's William Shatner. He's got more money than I think most people really would know what to do with.
He's got to be riding high off those Tech War royalties. Like they've still got to be rolling in.
Off of, let's see, Star Trek, Miss Congeniality. What's the other one? Priceline?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Come on. William Shatner is okay. He's not hurting for his likeness and royalty checks.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
There we go.
Thanks, Wayne. Wayne's in charge of doing like the subtitles for the different chapters of this live stream because that was perfect.
We're gonna use that as like our little. All right, whenever we see Wayne's comment pop up, put a bookmark.
There we go. Well, let's close the chapter on that and like open the new chapter on.
Let's get William Shatner out of here.
Get him out of here. There we go. There's a bunch of stuff that happened at Monorepo World. I know. One of them, I wasn't able to hear his talk, but we did have a podcast with the folks from Trunk. So I know a little bit from being on with that. Were either of you able to hear the talk from Trunk this time around?
Yeah, it was awesome. I know just like sitting at the table with him and some of the other folks at NX, like during dinner, like the night before. Like someone at NX had just casually said, "Yeah, we probably need a merge queue at this point." I was like, I should probably figure out what a merge queue is, because I have like a rough idea of sort of what it is and the problems that it solves. And I know like multiple of our customers use a merge queue, and it can really solve a lot of problems in terms of like how long it takes to get something merged, or like what like commit or PR a problem was introduced in. But it was really, really cool to see him there talking about it like at scale, and seeing, you know, what the implementation looks like and what problems it solves.
Speaking of which, Josh Van Allen is here. When I first met Josh, we were both working together at a place that had created their own merge queue. And during that time, I do remember a significant part of my day was just spent watching the merge queue, hoping my stuff would go in. So that's, yeah, I definitely sympathize with that problem, especially when you know, when the team size gets so large that it's actually becomes a problem. So
Yeah.
one of the most interesting things we had from the live stream there with David was just he had mentioned like they're at the time they were working, I think, with Uber, like on self-driving cars. And the problem of like, how do we manage this many people committing to the same code base at the same time was a harder problem than figuring out self-driving cars, which is wild.
Yeah. And something else that I've seen in the community has been like that homegrown implementation of the merge queue is like definitely something you can do. But maybe you should leave it to the professionals at Trunk. Like a naive implementation of a merge queue can be pulled off, but like something that is like really production ready and doesn't require a ton of maintenance for you is a much harder thing to pull off.
Well, it's like writing your own cache invalidation. You certainly could, but don't use somebody else's cache invalidation technique, because if you write one bad line of code, it's going to basically just be, oh, I guess we're forever cached.
I don't know, maybe trying to write like your own distributed task execution orchestrator. Like maybe let the folks at NX Cloud manage that for you.
Yeah.
Shameless plug right there.
Yeah. Good job, Phillip. One of the biggest themes I feel like I keep hitting is like what people want to do, like what software engineers should be wanting to do is like shipping more of their stuff. And when it comes to implementing stuff, these sort of like more meta tasks, like how do we manage our CI, or how do we, you know, do these things around implementing features to our repo that the end customer doesn't really benefit from. Those seem to be much better served just by offshoring this to someone who focuses on that one thing, whether it's merge queues or monorepos or CI pipelines.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was very impressed by their home screen, by the way. I like it. It's very stylized, but still like interactive. I don't know what happened to it, but there was a ball that was like coming down here. Maybe if I like refresh, we'll see it again. Yeah, see? Isn't that neat? I really like that.
There's something to be said about a good website design.
I know. As you scroll down, watch all those. I think that's so neat. I do wish it kind of came back up, but I'm okay with that.
Well, gravity only goes down.
I know.
But maybe if it was like a whole queue of spheres, that way it would be a little bit, you know, more on point with the whole merge queue. You could just have a queue of spheres ready to go.
Yeah, I feel like that would be nice to see, just a whole bunch of balls coming down the tracks, and like a way station, figuring out how to get them all in at the same time.
It'd be, you know, appropriate branding. We should pitch that to them and then send them a royalty request.
Yeah.
I mean, that was David's presentation, actually. Like, he had multiple videos of a ball rolling around and how that is a metaphor for the merge queues. So Check that out. This is a great time
Dude.
for me to actually. I'm going to put you on the spot here. I know we've got the live stream recordings up. When are we going to have the individual recordings of sessions up?
Well, the funny thing about that was we have all the tracks and all those sessions more or less good to go. We're going to do the annoying thing that I think everybody wishes conferences wouldn't do and just like push 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, we're going to publish them out a little bit. So, shameless plug, subscribe to the channel, get notified when we drop those videos.
Which channel should they subscribe to? The NX channel or the Monorepo World channel?
I believe there's only an NX channel.
I mean, both. If
something about that, I don't think YouTube really likes it when you publish the same content twice.
Subscriptions are free. Jump in there. I do like our live stream just announcing the annoying things that we're going to do for our community. That's what you come here in the live stream. You get hyped about the annoying distribution of pre-recorded sessions. See?
Well,
that's
we
one
got
subscription.
Mr. Danny Thompson in the house listening to me. Don't listen to me. I give terrible advice.
Unsubscribe. Right now.
Please don't. Please don't.
Just playing. I did really appreciate Wayne, by the way. He's holding tight to the task. So
I also just appreciate that photo that he's got for his profile. Just nice, relax. Like, hey man, gravity's real.
Yes.
No big deal.
Texas style, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Mike, say it again.
Y'all should subscribe. It's great.
There we go.
The number has to go up.
Well, okay. Trunk's really cool. We've covered that. I said it was a podcast. It's actually a live stream. I'll throw the link up here in a little bit if you want to check out more about that, because Trunk was really quite cool, and they have some pretty neat integrations with NX here as well. There was talk about a talk on how to use Git correctly.
Yes.
Had you recommended that one, Mike? Who did that one?
So it was a gentleman named Scott Arbite. It's hard to say names like that without trying to go like full New England kind of accent. Scott Albright. Scott Arbite. He's a gentleman from GitHub itself. And he was talking about he had this really awesome slide where he highlighted all of these repos on GitHub and kind of it's a way for you to kind of analyze all these repos and say, hey, you have 10 gigabytes of binary data, like images, logs. They have all this stuff. That's a bad sign. Probably don't have 10 gigabytes of binary data. Don't have 10 gigabytes of images and whatnot. So his whole entire talk was kind of looking at, because he has seen so many monorepos on GitHub that we'll say there's room for improvement. He was able to go through, kind of highlight some of the cool things in there that Git actually provides, and GitHub as well, that can show you hey, here's where you're falling short of having good resources. But here's also how you can make things better for your developers. I think the tool that he commented on was Git Sizer, which will show you and rank you on how well you're doing. It was also very timely. As soon as we got back, a friend of mine, Jonathan Kramer, posted this blog post, which is more or less highlighting all the things that Scott talked about. So Git Sizer, where you can see the range of what is your project doing, how much binary data do you have in there, how much room for improvement do you have. But then he also talked about hey, do shallow clones. There's settings that you can set up in Git. Of course, now I'm like blanking on all of these tools names. So watch the video when we publish it. But all these like different tools to make a monorepo experience with Git significantly better, make it faster, make it so that way you're not spending 20-30 minutes trying to clone a repo. And then this article is just really cool to read from somebody who works at a big monorepo at a large Fang company. Is it Fang or Mang? However we want to talk about one of the big threes.
It must have changed, right? Because the F was for Facebook, but now it's Meta.
I think we're going with manga.
Manga?
I think.
I like it.
Nice.
I appreciate this LinkedIn user comment. This isn't clickbait. Nice. Whoever you are, anonymous LinkedIn user, thank you.
Agreed.
But yeah, Scott's talk for me was really one of the ones that stood out, and one that I remember talking with him like beforehand and being like, oh, okay, this guy really knows what he's talking about. So much like he wrote his own version of Git to like make it better, and nothing but high praise for Scott.
Oh, it's Whitney.
Oh, hi Whitney.
Hi, Whitney. No
well,
explanations.
now the anonymous nature of it is gone.
I know.
Oh well.
It's all right.
There we go. I'm like window managing right now.
Yeah, me too.
There was also another talk that he's going to be mad that he didn't get to see. Michael Hladky's talk. It was an interesting pitch because it was less technology as far as I get it, and more just about like internal practices or internal standards. Phillip, you were in the room when he was giving that talk, right?
Yeah. So any talk from Michael Hladky, you just don't really know what you're going to get. But I did. He and his team at Pushed Base are number one. They are the new official maintainers of the NX workshop. So if you need NX training for your organization, they are definitely the folks to talk to. I am trying to pull up the name of the tool that they were actually talking about using as part of this. But they have their own. Hey, chat, you can someone smarter than me figure out what I'm talking about?
It's not Code Push, is it?
It is Code Push. That's exactly what I was talking about.
Got the wrong tweet up right now, I think. This was the announcement that they're leading the NX workshop. But yes.
Hang on. Code Push is
Maybe,
a Microsoft product?
Yeah, it's not Code Push. That was something different. Pass.
We do not endorse Code Push. We won't do that.
Nope,
That's a Microsoft product. They don't need our help. However,
come on. I'm like nervously like trying to scroll through Michael's like his Twitter, and I'm like failing so bad at trying to find this. Either way, his tool and his like
Code
thing.
Push Up.
Code Push Up. I think it was
Code
close.
Push Up. Not Code Push, but very, very close. Closer than I was, which was nothing. But definitely this idea around like actually setting KPIs to eliminate tech debt, because tech debt is always a term that we just kind of throw around. Oh, we've got too much tech debt. Oh, tech debt. We need to work on this. But it's sort of like a really nebulous thing. that you're talking about of like tech debt is almost more of a feeling. It's like a vibe at certain organizations. And Michael really pushes around, okay, let's define that and put numbers around it. Like, how many flaky tests do we have? Where are they at within the organization? Put numbers around it, keep metrics around it, and be able to actually define it so that you can solve the problem.
As somebody who has been in just a world of metrics, numbers, and reporting, anything that anything that you can tie back to like a stat, and it's like, here's our actual number. It's not just vibe space.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of.
Yeah. Well, I also think like just is for engineers out there who are like thinking around things of like, I wish I could get more like buy-in to the things that I'm suggesting. Like, I know that there are things that we need to work on. Like, it's really hard to work in this particular part of the code base, or I know that we have failures in this part. It's never enough to like go to leadership and say, hey, it's really hard to work in here. Your leadership is always going to want to see some sort of metric, and be able to tie that to some sort of impact. So if you can define those things better and tie them to metrics, that is vibe-based metrics are not typically accepted by leadership. Maybe your organization is different.
You just need to quantify vibe, and then we're good, right? So.
But anyway,
it's
like that's
what's our vibes are now? Mid at best.
Just every PR ends with like an emoji of like, how did we feel about this one?
Why'd you go ahead and yuck my yum right now? This is just gross.
So my I have teenage boys, and so I'm learning like new lingo. So one thing they talk about is like minus so many aura whenever something happens. That would be a very nice thing to see on each like PR as it gets merged. Like this PR just reduced aura by 1,000 points, something like that.
See, I have a 10-year-old at home, and I don't trust anything he tells me about slang because I don't think he's using it right either. Like, he's hearing older kids at school use it, and he is trying to tell me. Yes. But like my little 5-year-old girl, she's in kindergarten. She's in the same school as my son, and it's like I said something to her the other day, and she like looked me dead in my eyes, and she's like, "Bruh." Like my 5-year-old girl is calling me bruh. This is unacceptable. I'm not ready for this era of my life.
Yeah. See,
I'm still just trying to figure out what is skibbity.
You don't know skibbity?
I know it has something to do with the toilet, but at this point, I feel like Principal Skinner. It's like, am I out of touch? No, it's the kids who are wrong.
Yeah,
I know it's a video. I know a head comes out of a toilet.
It's yes. If you want the straight man answer, it's like a series of shorts based around a war between toilet head monsters and surveillance style agents with cameras for heads. They fight each other.
I don't know, man.
It doesn't make sense.
Anytime this comes up, like I think about the things that I was like entertained by as like a teenager and then a college student, and it's like I can still quote like a lot of Homestar Runner cartoons.
It's .com.
But some older folks probably thought that was pretty dumb too. So I try not to pass judgment on the next generation. So
I mean, we were. I was at least part of the generation that lost it over the video that was like shoes. Oh my god, shoes. No. I am.
Sorry, Mike.
It was funny. It was funny in hindsight.
There's a lot of things that were funny in hindsight. We used to go wild about like Diet Coke and Mentos. Like that was a whole era of the internet where it's like
I think they
how
still
many
do go wild over this. That is something.
I thought it was just kids trying to chug an entire bottle of sparkling water and then see who wouldn't burp.
No,
No?
I don't know. I like this live stream has turned into like three old men trying to figure out the youth.
Back
Hey,
in my day.
We we're nailing it right now.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna try to tie it back in, someone said something about agents earlier. Can we talk about Nicole and Raj's talk?
I would love to talk about Nicole.
I
and
missed
Raj. They're
it.
like two of my favorite people.
Two amazing people, two very entertaining people, and their talk was probably one of the most like memorable ones. Only if not because of the amazing content, because the fact that they like showed up in like spacesuits and made everyone wear like space themed glasses, and they talked about NX agents, which was, you know, as somebody who is still kind of relatively new to navigating this space, hearing all the work that agents can do and all the cool things. Like I didn't even know that we had like a feature to automatically like scale your agents in NX Cloud. Totally cool.
Yeah,
I found the
that's like
picture.
They did an amazing job with the presentation. They always bring a lot of fun to,
and we got to see
the
Raj's
event.
twin.
Yeah, that's right. We one of his clones.
One of his
Yes.
was it a clone or was it his twin? Something that was living in Dublin.
So
Tell me the difference between a twin and a clone. Think about it.
a twin seems natural. A clone is like I would assume a clone would be artificial.
I mean, they're genetically identical.
And again, Wayne coming in
Wayne
with
hitting
the
us hard.
Oh, I didn't know I was gonna come in and getting peppered like this.
Yeah.
Make me take an extra sip of my Red Bull.
Hey, Mark, if you're running into problems with the concurrent agent calculation, go ahead and write into support. We'd love to connect with you there and see what's going on. Whether it's something that we need to like explain better in documentation about how we calculate concurrent connections, or whether the calculation might not quite be correct for you, but definitely write into support about that. I thought the really cool thing about the automatic scaling, actually, yes, don't write in, just buy more agents. That is Mark doing my job for me. I just came off of the sales team. I'm on DevRel now. So I appreciate someone, doing the heavy lifting for me instead of me convincing you to buy more agents. So the cool thing about the automatic scaling is it puts things in terms of like how you actually want to optimize your CI pipeline. So like typically when we're talking about how many agents you're using, we're talking about, how many different runners you might have running tasks and how many tasks are running in parallel on those agents. And so you get into a lot of conversations of, should we have like more agents, or should we just like make the agents that we have larger resources? Should we have like a mix and match situation where like certain tasks run on larger agents and then other ones run on smaller agents? You're sort of fiddling with variables, but what you really want is like, well, what I really want is my PR merge time to be less than 20 minutes. Right? Like I want my feedback within 20 minutes. I should be able to like, raise a PR. And by the time I get out of my daily stand-up, like it's ready with results. And so that's what the our agents optimization feature does, is it allows you to set sort of like, I want this to be the maximum number, the maximum time that I'm looking for on a PR versus the maximum time for the pipeline on the main main commits. So really, really useful. Takes a lot of those variables out of your mind. So just like what Zach was talking about earlier, where it's like you get to go back to work and not worry about this optimization, and it's taken care of by us.
I don't want to go back to work.
Hey,
Who wants to go back to work?
come on, you don't want to deliver value for stakeholders?
Managers. So we had.
Can I ask a fast question to Philip first? Actually,
absolutely.
Because I was intrigued about this. Victor had me do a video largely about some of the AI stuff we had coming down the pipe, which actually sounds a lot like what you were describing, Philip. Is this like an AI feature, or is there like machine learning, or is this just like basic optimization? I don't know.
I will decline to comment on the nomenclature between like AI and machine learning. But I believe it was mentioned during the conference that like we have some AI features like the Explain with AI, which does make a call out to like OpenAI and to like other models. But this feature in particular is a closed model. It is something that is internal to NX Cloud, so it doesn't make a call out.
Nice.
Can I turn the dial up and down so I can slow the speed down?
I mean,
sure.
I feel like that agent, like right now, with a lot of the things I worked with, is just there's that agent number, how many agents you want. Just set that thing lower if you want things to start taking longer.
Like Friday morning, you come in and you like slow things down a little bit so you can just have it like a little easier. Like, oh, sorry, boss. Can't CI still completing, can't merge yet.
Blame the cloud.
Next KCD comic about this. Can't
CI still compiling.
Yeah, still compiling.
-1 agents. Nice.
-1 agents, I feel like that's then you having to go through, run all the build yourself on your own computer, and then upload a zip.
I was thinking of this in terms of aura still. So like instead of -1 aura, -1 agent. Only Landon knows. But yes.
So Mike, Victor actually talked about something similar to that, like during his keynote, right? Of like local agents, of CI being able to run tasks on developer machines using spare cycles, which was really, really cool and really, really interesting of being able to harness some of that. Because I mean, like our machines are 1,000 times more powerful and faster. Well, for us in the US, at least working at large corporations, like our machines are much, much more powerful than anything that you have on CI. And so like using some of those cores where it's like if you're just watching a live stream on YouTube and you're not getting like a ton of work done, like maybe your computer could be pretending to do work for you.
Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. He talked about that. I mean, it's an interesting kind of idea because it takes all of the benefits that agents gives you in like a CI environment. Like even just having it do like potentially bring up, hey, we're just going to do automatic code splitting or automatic like atomization of all your tests locally and have that just be performed for you. That seems like a very obvious, like easy win. And I think the one thing that I know somebody commented on in like the hallway was just like, oh yeah, and then we're gonna see all of a sudden a random crypto miner in the background. Not gonna be that. No crypto mining from us. But bringing in all the cool stuff that you get from like cloud just locally.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm kind of interested in having things go the other way as well. So like being able to leverage agents when just running things locally. Like if you had like a really big end-to-end test suite, like right now, if you want to hit that off, you kind of have to make the PR and go through that whole rigmarole to see how is this actually going to work in the CI environment versus just being like, hey, could I just use some agents and like we could get this done in a minute instead of hanging around for 20. So
I think
I don't
we've
know.
had like some internal demos of that before as well. I mean, like everything that we've done with NX Cloud is and the orchestrator itself is really flexible. And things can be fired off like that. I don't know when any of this will actually like be productized or like released or anything like that, but it's definitely something that we're experimenting with.
Is this where we're gonna pull like an Apple and be like, and coming soon to an NX release near you, we'll be having local agents.
I still remember the time Steve Jobs said the FaceTime protocol was going to be completely open source.
Excuse me.
Has
that was a
never
lie.
happened. That was Steve Jobs got us again.
Well, it's like when they also said that the future of iOS apps was going to be the web.
Yeah.
Young
That was
Mike
before
was
they
so
knew
naive.
that was before the app stores proved so profitable. But
Mike, it feels like you've got some like past trauma around that, perhaps from a previous employer. I don't know.
Listen, all we just need to know is Apple is honestly, Apple's great. I don't want to badmouth them. They are actually the people who are working on Safari are doing really good things and just trying their best.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, aren't we all just trying our best?
Landon's offering some GCP competitive rates here, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I want to pivot to another interesting topic. This is something we've been hitting. A lot of our last few live streams has been on this, actually. Module Federation. There was some had some spicy takes here from both Phillip and Mike before the show started.
Yeah, module
I want to hear
Federation.
y'all's. I want to hear
The
y'all's
thing
take.
that no one thought was going to, well, the thing that I thought was not going to be a thing after it was released.
I get what's the right bearish on Module
Skeptic?
Federation. It's skeptic and micro front ends in general, I would say. But I think Module Federation it solves a lot of problems that you had around just like a naive approach to micro front ends and actually solves problems that exist. That might have given away my general opinion of micro front ends, the way I phrased that. But the work that Column Ferry, who gave a presentation on RSPack and Module Federation, is really really cool, and the work that he has been doing with the RSPack team and the RSPack community is really great. It's really exciting to see like a collaboration between NX and other folks in the development community like that, pushing things forward and making sure that, not only that are things a good experience for NX, but we're also like providing feedback to the RSPack team and being able to help them out. So really love that like two-way collaboration between the different teams. Definitely check it out. Overhead outweighs the benefits for most teams. We're in an industry of trade-offs, right? It's like hey, here's a spicy take. This same sentence might be able to apply to like NX, right? Like some people would definitely have this opinion of NX of like the overhead of configuring and maintaining NX outweighs the benefits, or even of like monorepos and things like that. So absolutely like evaluating it, and hopefully that's what NX helps you with is being able to use the generators that we have to set up Module Federation really really quickly so that you can do those evaluations. That's something that I've always appreciated about NX. I was a huge NX advocate before I even joined the company, and one of the things that I really enjoyed about it was like the plugins, being able to just like really quickly experiment with the technology. Like it's like, do we want to use, for example, Playwright? Like what would a transition from Cypress to Playwright look like for us? Well, install the Playwright plugin, write a couple tests and see what it's like. And it sort of gets the configuration and the technology out of your way so that you can get down to like that, what value does this deliver? And I think with all the work that we've put into Module Federation on the NX side, I think that is a clearer sort of path for folks to be able to see what would Module Federation do for me. And at least that sort of gets you kicked off, and then to come up with like a real production ready approach to Module Federation for your organization is still going to be a lot of work, but we'll get you started and get some of the technology and configuration out of the way for you.
See, I got a pretty like interesting perspective, because like I was definitely, even like before I joined NX, like I thought NX was too complicated, or it was like too much for any one project. Definitely thought that about micro front ends and Module Federation. Like it seemed a solution in search of a problem.
Sure.
But I think because like my natural like tech Luddite kind of like approach, where it's like, simpler is better. I don't want any complex tools. It's not that the tools are complex, is that the problem is super complex. And like the approach of why micro front ends and Module Federation in general, like I talked with Lois and Colin about it. It's like, yeah, you probably don't need a Module Federation setup or like a micro front end, because you're not building these massive apps, and like it doesn't need to be a solution for you for it to still be valuable, which is what really helped me kind of like shift my perspective of, okay, so I don't have to use it, and I don't need to be like, I don't need to even have an opinion about it, because it's never going to be something that I need to worry about until I get to a point where I'm like, okay, we have like 3-hour builds, and we have a 10,000 plus like module in setup. Like our scale is massive. We need to have something like this.
Yeah. That absolutely. I mean, this is kind of like the same sentiments that y'all had, or were exactly where I started with a lot of this stuff too. And then you wind up on these some of our clients here that have builds that last an hour. And then the Angular worlds, it's like not much you can do about that without going to Module Federation. So I know we have someone in chat here talking about like a massive Angular application with a bunch of different modules. How do you get that down? Like the answer is, unfortunately, there is no way unless you go to Module Federation. And that has some promise there in how you can cut down that build, because well, now instead of having the one monolithic build, which for some of our clients was just like massive, that wasn't 3 hours like Mike had mentioned, but it was like 30 minutes. Like that was a real thing that I've seen, that I've been there. So
yeah.
But yeah, so taking that 30 minutes and breaking that down into even 5 pieces at 6 minutes each, completely different balls, like absolutely different story. And with DTE, all these other things, you can, number one, you can benefit from caching a whole lot more in what a monolithic build. Obviously, every time you've got to rerun that build because something always changed, so the build always has to go. But in a situation where you have 5 different pieces, chances are that one change only affected one piece. So you can cut down on compute in general. You can also, when you do have changes that affect the entire app or multiple pieces, you can parallelize those out. So that's the tool that's worth using for getting all this stuff up. There's still some overhead there too, but like Phillip was saying, like a lot of the stuff that we do at NX is working at getting that overhead down, because the benefits are pretty huge. We sat down with Zephyr last week to go over some of that stuff. If you go back and watch the live stream, I'm very critical at the start with exactly the same kind of things. Zephyr's whole thing is they build the deployment into the build step. So it's like It's part of the RSPack. It's an RSPack plugin that's going to hook into your build. So as soon as you build, you're actually deploying out to a web server as well, like really, really quickly. And the whole idea is that you're developing in the idea of your module federation. So as you're making changes to things, as soon as that build goes out and runs, part of that build is it's getting pushed out to the cloud to live on a server. And that's actually, if you're going to do module federation, this is probably the better way of doing things rather than like the solution we have baked in is you have like web servers that run locally and they're hosting different things. And I think we combine things so that everything's on the same web server. But using that solution is you're in a environment that mimics what your production environment's going to look like more closely, I think. So that's very cool. But yeah, Chow's got some advice here. Moving to either NX or module federation or both would solve the problem immediately. I think this is the problem of a really long build. But moving to NX might surface some potential dependencies between the apps before moving on to potential solution. But yeah, module federation, I believe, would be a way that you could get to, a faster build for sure.
Yep.
One last thing that I do want to make sure that we talk about is the new TypeScript, JavaScript project setups that we shipped as part of 20, but Victor was spent a good amount of time talking about during the keynote.
Yes.
Which, if you hadn't read the blog post or seen anything from like Zack's video, actually, I'm gonna share my screen.
Well, yeah, go for it, Mike. While you're doing that, I've been stepped away from things for a little bit the last few weeks, just working on some stuff with some of our clients. So when I saw Mike did the blog post for NX20, and I was like, wait, what? We're finally making that change? And yeah.
So this is like
really
a
cool
feature I didn't even know TypeScript had until like Jack sat me down and like walked me through it. And I was like, this has existed since like, I don't even remember what version. I think it was like an actually like very early version of TypeScript. And it's just never been something that I think caught on until the TypeScript team came in and was like, no, this is how you can do it. So like, you have your entire, like the current setup that we have today or had in like 19 was like, we would manage all the linking of your packages. You'd use the paths option inside of your tsconfig. And anytime you would like import from a certain namespace, you're literally just doing like a giant file lookup. It's not actually like managing how that packet, it's not using like node module resolution to actually look up that package. So like I recorded this video of it and we'll just let it play. And it's really just building out one package, but it has to go through and traverse this whole entire like tree of lookup. And it's 248, 252, I think was the starting number. But like, I'm gonna like come on. And obviously we're skipping the cache just for dramatic effect, but so far like a 3-minute run just to build one thing because it depended on 252 subtasks. And all of that is like a compounded effect of the packages in your or projects in your monorepo not being linked up correctly, and then using TypeScript paths to actually bring all this information in. So we went from using paths to this new key called references, and it looks very similar, where the reference actually is just a package. It's actually just a TypeScript feature. So instead of having it be like a file reference, we're just saying in your base tsconfig, here's a reference to all of these different projects that you have. And it can be like a near infinite list. But in addition to using this for the type information, you also are linking the dependencies inside of your root node modules. And if I
Yeah.
let's
Linking it in
see.
a way that TypeScript's aware of it. I think that's the biggest piece, right?
Yeah, so like let's look at this giant repo real quick. If oh no, NeoVim doesn't want to actually do anything. Oh well. We'll skip that. Chow can have like a good laugh at, oh, Mike's NeoVim is slow.
That's pretty typical for Vim. You know, it only does things if you ask nicely.
Oh, see there. I just had to give it a little fear. But like look at where are they? Yeah. So these are actually all of the sub projects inside of this demo repo. Like it's quite massive, but they're all just symlinks inside of node modules. And if we look at the old implementation, like we don't do any of that. So we're doing more work to make sure that the package gets looked up versus doing something that's already available inside of like npm, yarn, pnpm. So linking of the dependencies, project references, that same build with the new setup. And we'll just let it run real quick. Like literally nothing changed other than I'm using the link npm link in the project references. And already, like, come on now. 30-second build times? Are we gonna hit that? Speed it up still.
Spoilers if you look at the end time.
24 seconds. It's 24 seconds in like npm time or nx time. If we actually ran like a time command, it'd be probably a little bit more accurate, but still.
Yes.
What? Yeah, Josh says, what happens when you use the right thing for the right job? You
Exactly.
actually get incredible results. Go figure, right?
Well, I think like when NX first started, like the paths thing we were using there, it's paths, as far as I understand, it's just a way of making those import statements look nicer. Really?
Yeah.
So like you can say like at import from the name of your project instead of some really nasty looking stuff. So
and like even the TypeScript team will tell you, hey, probably don't use the paths option in the in your TS config because it just isn't going to be something that is scalable or faster.
Right. But yeah,
that another way, the NX team is trying to keep you at your desk working instead of getting up and getting coffee. Okay, we're doing our part. You're welcome,
Mark.
managers. Mark, get back to work.
He hasn't commented in a while. Maybe he is back to work.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like that compare. Oh, there he is. But yeah, the TypeScript references combined with the decision to go to workspaces as the defaults. That was the second biggest thing that always stood out to me. We had back when it was just Yuri and me working on the videos, I had a video that we never ended up releasing. I was just talking about two different like styles of doing like monorepos. And one was the way we did it with our generators at the time, which was use paths. And you just use like NX as a way of understanding everything about your repository. So using like workspace .json and using project.json, that kind of stuff. Workspace.json was like legacy, but that's like one way to do it. But then you have this other way, which is using the TypeScript references, and you use like workspace functionality from your package manager. The package manager now knows how all of your projects work together. And this is where, like, as you build things, like you can reference rather than referencing the TypeScript path, you can actually reference it as if it's something in your node modules, because workspaces is essentially symlinking that into your node modules at that point, which is probably more true to life. So we made a decision at this point that we're going down the one direction. I think that's probably the correct one, because it's just like we saw from Mike's demo, it's significantly more performant. So very cool.
It's like another like just one last thing on it. Let me add my screen back to the stream, please. Okay, so project references, old approach. Let's just get find all references for this function. We only get one reference, right? TypeScript doesn't understand where the references for this function could be. New project references takes a little bit longer because it's doing a big lookup, and I also have logging kind of like initialized. But it'll actually return all the actual references for this across the entire monorepo. So better like actual intelligence of like, oh, this is also being used here and re-exported from this package. That's cool. Totally awesome stuff to know that, you know, moving to TS references actually looks it up. Neovim find references as well. Not yet. Not yet, Chow.
We'll get there. I did want to highlight this question. I think this was part of our last discussion, but I think this is a question regarding like buildable libraries as opposed to module federation, which is an interesting point. I think like in many ways, going to buildable libs can help. It kind of depends on a couple things. Like one of them is like, are you using Angular or not? If you're using Angular, we found that buildable libs really didn't help all that much because you need to go into like the ng packager step. And even after packaging all those things up, when you build your application, you have to then unpackage them and bring them all together. Sometimes that takes as much, if not more, than the build itself. So that's kind of wild. But so that's preclusive in Angular. In like other frameworks, though, this is like a viable solution that can help you get there. The module federation does have the advantage of like there's still like in this solution there is a monolithic build. It's that build itself has a lot of different pieces that you'd split it up into, but you still have to at the end of the day push something new up. Versus module federation, you could potentially only build the new pieces and push those up. And you don't have to touch the things that didn't change, which is big. But buildable libraries can get you probably like 80% of the way there as long as you're not using Angular. So it is a good first step.
I think we have a really good blog post that somebody here on the stream just wrote on this subject as well. Buildable libraries, it's essentially monorepo like architecture, right? This is applicable to.
Thanks,
Mike. I'm making sure it's not me. This is
there was a second
Zach,
where even I was like,
you wrote this blog post and you just didn't know it was about you.
I've been having a time. I wouldn't be surprised if there's just like pieces of things I just completely forgot.
Yeah. So I will say like the buildable libraries is one thing that could help. I think buildable libraries themselves are hard to get right. Especially like what Zach was saying, like especially with Angular, where there's a lot of things that are outside of your control on how long a build time takes. When you're in other communities like React and you have like multiple different like options for like bundlers and how to import things, I think that's a little bit easier. But we did just have the blog post go up about when you're looking at other tasks within your workspace, like things like lent and test. Those are things that will get astronomically faster if you break things down into projects. If you've got like one monolithic application and every single time you make a change to it, you are relenting and retesting all of that, then that is a huge inefficiency. if you do the work to break those out into projects so that number one, those projects can be cached on an individual basis, and you can also run affected so that you're only testing and linting the things that are actually affected, then this will be a huge time savings. And the big thing that we point out in the blog post is a real world example of folks taking their pipeline time from over an hour to like under 10 minutes. Like that's the savings in time that you can see by applying both affected and caching to a monorepo that has been broken down into projects. There's a lot of times where we, because breaking a monolithic application down into projects isn't the hardest thing in the world, but it is work. It is work that actually getting back to sort of what I was talking about earlier, like you have to apply metrics to things. You have to justify the work that you have to put into something with numbers. And so like this is our attempt at sort of helping you make that argument to your leadership of, if we took the time to sort of do a re-architecture and break down things down into projects, we could see, this is it's like an 85% reduction in CI pipeline times. Think about the time that gains you through the day and the advantages that you have. So, buildable libraries, bigger conversation to have about how to reduce your like build times, but looking at any other tasks that you have, like test, lent, anything else that you have, breaking those down into projects is an automatic win.
I think just one last thing to drop on this question before we leave it too is getting to like a buildable state for things. Like this is going to be one of the prerequisites for Module Federation anyways. So if that is where you wanted to go, this is going to be probably going to be a step in that direction too. So, but yeah, we linked the article. I'll throw it up here. Check it out because it's really impressive. The gains we were able to get in that Phillip talks about in that article. This is why you use NX. Probably one of the reasons why.
Yeah.
So cool. There's a lot of questions in chat. We're running out of time. I think maybe we can hit one more and then go on. Wrap it up. I wanted to hit this one from Stefan about Power Pack. Now, who here knows the most about Power Pack? Because I may be speaking out of turn, but nope, not much.
Nope.
Got nothing.
My understanding was Power Pack's not going to allow for custom task runner. Maybe I'm wrong on this. I thought that what it was, we were providing a way.
Yeah, why don't we take Stefan's question? Like, Stefan, I think you're in the Discord. We could probably take that question there and get somebody from the team who would be a better resource than us three. I'm actually more curious on Josh's question because I think that is like
this one.
That's a thing that like I don't ever think about is like, when's it okay for something to get bigger or slower in terms of like build time or such?
So I think in this case it's pipeline times naturally increase over time. Right? Like you are going to introduce more code that needs to be built, test, linted. Like it is natural for the work that you need to take care of to increase over time. And that's naturally going to lead to more, to longer pipelines. And with NX you have a lot of options to be able to combat that. Like we were talking about earlier with the sort of like the automated agent sizing of, if you turn that on and say, I just want my PR times to be, less than 20 minutes, then we're going to help you keep that down to 20 minutes. But we also have to understand that like that's going to increase the number of agents that you're using. It's increasing the compute that you're using. And so cost is also going to come up. And so I think that's one of the things that you have to look at with pipeline time is like, it is not an end all be all goal to get things as low as possible, because you could also just like throw money at your CI pipeline times. And this is definitely what people do, where it's easier to just like tick up to a larger resource on your runner to reduce your pipeline times than it is to figure out a better approach. So with that, it's always going to be a balancing act. Like if your pipeline time increases, and that's because that allows you to reduce some of your costs related to CI, I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. If there are other places where it's like, if we just let the pipeline time extend by like 5 minutes or something like that, that's not a huge increase to developers, but it means that we can bump our resource size down to save time, to save money, things like that. I think that's the balancing act of your pipeline time is going to increase over time. I don't think that is avoidable, provided that you're on like an actively, in development workspace and application. You're going to have more, ideally, you're going to have more developers, you're going to have more code, you're going to have more tasks that you need to run. That's going to increase organically over time. How much do you allow it to increase is probably the question that I'd be asking. And what are the trade-offs of allowing that to either increase or putting in the work or the money to be able to keep it at the same?
Sweet. Well,
That's a great way to wrap it up.
this is a good stream.
Boom.
I enjoyed it.
My mic is on an arm. Otherwise, I would drop it,
Well, it's a good thing that arm does not let you down.
That's right. It's company paid for, so they probably don't want me dropping it that often.
One would hope.
Nice. Well, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks everyone. Stefan, like Mike said, we'll grab you in the Discord for that. And yeah, to everyone, thanks for coming. It was great. Hope you all have a happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween to those who celebrate, and we're almost through the year.
Nice.
Oh, don't say that. It's coming like a freight train.
Oh,
It's time to start planning Thanksgiving and Christmas.
later.
Don't think
everyone.
about Thanksgiving anymore. It's all Christmas.